Hello, my friends. Luiz Lima here from Orlando, Florida, for another week of Spiritism, a closer look. You are on Kardec Radio, so welcome. And once again, we do this talk every Wednesday at 7:30. At 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Tonight, we are going to take a closer look at what I call inner transformation. A little bit of why we're doing this today. Throughout the past couple of years, 2 to 3 years, we have been speaking about different things, and very often we talk about us evolving as spirits. So here, now and then, we got questions and comments and suggestions of compiling information because it gets scattered into different lives. So that's why we're doing this today. Today is going to be our talk. Today is going to be more like a compilation of details of all these things that the talk gravitates around. These subjects and requests, mostly about evolving as spirits. We're gonna talk about four things here. So four main ideas for today's talk. Idea number one, reincarnation. Number two, pain. Number three, enemies. And number four, dualities. They're all connected. So, one brings the other as we go along. Well, let's get started. So first thing, reincarnation. We know that in question 132 of the Spirit's book, Allan Kardec asks the spirits, what is the purpose of reincarnation? And there are two parts as the answer comes in two parts. First part is, reincarnation is needed so we can evolve. Now, the second part of the answer is very striking. The spirits will tell us that reincarnation is also needed to place spirits in a condition to do their part in creation. That's requires a little bit of thinking over here. So let's go by analogy because it's just easier to do that way. Imagine someone wants to be a doctor. A young boy, for example, or a young girl, they want to be a doctor one day. They're not ready for it. They can't start, do patient visits because they're not ready. So they have to study. They have to go through, the first years of school. They have to go into college, study medicine. Hopefully they will pick up some particular topic to specialize on. They have to do a residence later. So there's a lot of things that have to happen before that person can act as a doctor, meaning do their part in the society as a doctor. So it requires a lot of personal work before that person can say, okay, now I'm ready to be a doctor. It is the same thing with us spirits within the creation. In order for us to do our part in creation, we need to be ready for it. What is our part in creation? Imagine Jesus, for example. He was the one who created and governs the planet. You and I, we can't create planets. We're too far away from being able to. So other spirits, even much more advanced, can create galaxies and more advanced things. We are not ready to do that. We will, because of our goal. Everybody's goal is to reach perfection. That's the destination of all spirits, state of perfection. In order to do this, we have to be ready to do our part in the creation. It requires to do inner work. And only we can do that ourselves. We cannot outsource this. It's personal, not transferable. So the earth, at the evolution state that we are now, the earth is the place that will bring these conditions. It will allow us to go through certain circumstances and conditions that will start preparing us to do our part in the creation. So that's the purpose of reincarnation. Now, for us to do this inner work and start modifying ourselves as a spirit, evolving, being better, making better choices, going through this brings a lot of pain, which is idea number two. It brings a lot of pain. No transformation is easy. So we are talking here about moral transformation, which brings with it moral pain. So what is the meaning of pain? Why do we have to go through pain? Well, think about physical pain. For example, if I hit my arm at the corner of a desk, for example, it will hurt. It will hurt. I can even, depending, break my arm here. If no pain comes out of breaking my arm here, what happens is I'm going to start moving and keep doing things, and there's going to be a point where the arm is going to be totally broken, maybe on a 90-degree angle. And if I don't feel any pain, I will keep going and going. At one point, I'm just going to lose my arm. So the first sign of pain when I hit the arm means it's an alert signal. This is what pain, we're talking about physical pain here first. This is what physical pain is. It's an alert signal. If there is no alert signal, it could turn into disaster easily. Moral pain is exactly the same thing. It's an alert signal, that meaning we are doing something that is incorrect. It's not right. We shouldn't be doing. So we feel it in the form of a moral pain, which is, by the way, necessary. Pain is necessary. Suffering is by choice, not by design. Not everybody in pain suffers. One doesn't necessarily bring the other. So this pain that we have to go through is because of it, because of the moral transformation. I'm being told you were doing something wrong. Now it's the time to offset your wrongdoings. Now let's think about this. If I make a list of all the wrongdoings that I have to offset for all my previous lives, not just this one, for all my previous lives, the list is going to be so big that it's going to take me a very long time just to write it. And that goes for all of us here on planet Earth. And if I decide that I look at the list with all those million items on it, and I say, on my next life, I'm going to offset all of them in one shot, in one lifetime. That's not feasible. We wouldn't be able to do that because the pain would be something unbearable. I wouldn't be able to do in one life. So God gives us the opportunity to do this to offset these wrongdoings in installments. One little bit on each lifetime. And that's why we need reincarnation. Because we can't bear the pain if we take everything together that I'm still that I still have to offset. I can't do in one life. So we do a little bit at a time. So it's like, for example, you want to buy a car, you go to the bank, you get a loan, the manager will give you the money, and he's going to charge you, every month you pay a little bit. Now, so the booklet in the old days, right? You used to have a booklet. When you get the booklet at home and you are going to pay for your first installment, at least the first one, you're going to pay with some sort of joy because, oh, I got my car. I'm paying for my car. It's a sensation that, it brings hope. It brings something good in you. So you go in and you pay that with joy. Now, when we have to pay installments for moral wrongdoings, we do not do this with joy in our hearts. We complain up there. We shouldn't be complaining. We should complain, if you will, if we were in a position, if we were forced to offset everything in one lifetime. That would be complicated. It's impossible, not feasible. So God allows us to do this in installments. And I'll tell you what, if you go to the bank manager at one point and say, listen, I've been paying my loan, I've been paying my monthly installments. Now, next month, I like to skip that. You're going to have consequences. It's going to get worse. Now, when we do this with God, what happens? We say, it's too much. It's unbearable. I'm struggling here, trying to do what I'm supposed to do on this lifetime. It's too much. Then God will say, listen, son, you go easy. You offset as you can. If you need 2 lifetimes, that's 2 lifetimes. If you need 2,000 lifetimes, it's 2,000 lifetimes. That's God's mercy. And that's why we need several lives, or several, I'm going to say, lifetimes, to discharge all these things that we have to offset. The problem is, when we are here to offset some of these, we purchase more. We purchase another car before paying the first. And it piles up and it piles up and it becomes very difficult. But still, God's mercy is there, letting us do our planning as we want. That's why I'm saying pain and reincarnation go together. One ties into the other. Pain is financed by the divine bank. That's what it is. It's finance. So we shouldn't complain to the finance manager here, God. The divine bank finances this for us. It's like I go to God and say, listen, I have to offset my wrongdoings. How can I go about it? You take it easy, son. You go as you can. So that's pain, which ties into reincarnation. One thing brings the other. So let's go for the third idea, the enemies. Pain comes from us not being able to follow and stick to and sustain the moral of reference. What is the moral of reference? It's what Jesus came to teach us. He actually not only taught, he showed us. So the pain, the moral pain that we have to go through arises from the fact that we have adverse attitudes towards the moral of reference. So envy and revenge and impatience and pride, selfishness, all these things are things that we have to offset, but we purchase more at each lifetime that we come here. Think about this. Let's say, years ago when I was, say, young, we had a friend called Joe, for example. And Joe one day comes in with a brand new car, which is the car of my dreams, the brand that I wanted, just like I imagined I would have. He shows up with that new car. Well, envy could play a role in here. And if it does, I'm going to place Joe at the top of my list of enemies. So now I don't want to talk to him. I need to drift apart from him. I don't want to see him. That car he has, it's ugly. It was my dream car. Now it's ugly. So we keep doing these things. which go against ourselves. Anyhow, so we call, or I'm calling Joe in this example, I'm calling Joe my enemy. He might not even know. Most likely he doesn't know. And this thing that happened, say, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it's still in my mind. It's still happening. And this thing is latent in my soul, not in my brain. It's latent in my soul. It bothers me from time to time. And it's there. So I call them enemies or people in that situation. We call them enemies. So Joe is now my enemy. Well, what is an enemy? Enemy is, if you think about in the physical concept, for example, in the good old days, where we had a bunch of wars, the enemy is that one that prevents you from advancing. It's going to stop you from advancing and acquiring, for example, some piece of land. So an enemy is what prevents you or me or us from advancing. It holds us back. It's this shackle that holds us down, and we can't get past it. That's what an enemy is. If I'm telling you that Joe is my enemy, that makes no sense. Because Joe is not the only one I have the same feeling towards. In this case, envy. I feel the same way about other people owning or purchasing or having possession of other things. So the enemy is not the person. The enemy is not Joe, is not John, is not Mary, is not Carlos, none of those. The enemies are the vices. Revenge is the enemy. Selfishness is the enemy. Pride is the enemy. Envy is the enemy. Intolerance is the enemy. These are the things that, again, prevents us from advancing. These are the shackles that we put in our lives, ourselves, by choice, not by design. So the enemies are our vices. And if we are kind of shifting the paradigm a little bit here, because we are used to place or to relate and attach, let's use the word attach, the word enemy to these people. But no, they're not the enemies. The enemies are the vices. So what are these people? Instead, we're changing the paradigm here. These people are the battlefield. These people are where I go to defeat the enemy. For me to win over the enemy, for example, envy, I have to fight against what brings the envy out of me. Joe is the perfect guy in the example that I'm using here. So I need to get closer to Joe, start getting closer to him and, maybe even, who knows, get to be his friend one day, because that's how I'm going to win over the enemy. You see, if you think of a battle, two groups of people battling on the battlefield, if you don't show, the enemy wins. If you don't show for the conflict, the enemy wins. So if we avoid, or in this case, if I avoid Joe all the time, the enemy is winning. Every time I avoid Joe because, oh no, that guy, I can't stand him. He bought a car 35 years ago. Come on. Every time I do this, I lost the battle. Another one, and another one, and another one. If we don't show up for the fight, we lose the fight. Now, when I start showing up for the fight, trying to, get closer to him and talk to him, and one day I'm going to be able to see him, talk to him, and the car is not going to come up as a problem, the car he had. Envy is not going to be there. We're just going to be talking as two people. That day, I won over the enemy. And then from then on, I don't have to go to the battlefield anymore because I won the enemy. And that brings us to the fourth point. From here, we can go to the fourth point, which is what I call the dualities. So first, let's understand what is a duality. Duality is a concept of opposing things. For example, life and death. Regardless of belief system, if you're alive, you're not dead. If you're dead, you're not alive. However, one does not exist without the other. That's what forms or assembles the idea of a duality. Heaven and hell, again, regardless of belief system. If you think you're in heaven, you're not in hell. If you think you're in hell, you're not in heaven. However, one does not exist without the other. So when you get to these dualities, which we're going to plug in shortly to everything that we spoke, it works like this, for example. Let's take this duality here, honesty and dishonesty. Okay? If you're honest, you're not dishonest. If you're dishonest, you're not honest. But one does not exist without the other. So let's go back several lives ago, several lifetimes ago, when, for example, I was this big criminal, very dishonest, stealing everything, doing everything wrong, And then as time goes by, as I get to the next lifetime, then to the next one, then to the next one, I get better on that particular quest, which is dishonesty. So I'm becoming less dishonest as I go along, lifetime after lifetime. And there's going to be a point where I say, and then let's say that last lifetime, I stole just this little thing with not really important. And then on my next lifetime that I'm going to plan for, I'm going to say, this is going to be total honesty, 100% honesty, no dishonesty anymore. That's it. And then I come over. Then I incarnate, I start my life, everything's going well. And then let's just say that one day I go to a place, it could be a party, for example, full of people, and somebody leaves on a table a pile of dollar bills. Don't think about the value in dollars. Think about a huge pile of dollar bills, all stacked up like that. $100 bills. So, and you have a pile like this. That's a lot of money if you think about it. And then the pile of money is right there, and everybody leaves the scene. There's nobody, there's no surveillance cameras. And now it's me and the pile of money. And I look at the pile of money and say, oh my God, this is fantastic. Look at that. This is all $100 bills. If I take just a small number of bills, let's say 20 bills out of the top, that's a lot of money, $2,000. If I take all 20, nobody's going to notice because it's such a huge pile of bills. I could do this. Oh my God, what an opportunity. Regardless of the outcome, if I steal the money or I don't steal the money, regardless of the outcome, look at the conflict. Look at me sweating and, oh my God, should I do, should I not do? I'm not sure if I should. At this point, both things can happen. Both outcomes are still possible. And that's where the problem is. That all that affliction that is complicated. And why is that? Because I have not yet transcended the duality. Honesty, dishonesty. Dishonesty is still possible. If I had transcended the duality, meaning dishonesty is not possible, I would act differently. Something like this, more or less. I would look at the pile of bills, say, wow, This is a lot of money. The person who left this here should be desperate looking for the money. Let's try to find who that is. You see the tremendous shift. When I'm in conflict, I'm looking for that money towards myself. I am the center, the focus of the attention. When I transcended the duality, the center of attention, the focus is the person who lost the money, not me. The money is not mine. It doesn't even cross my mind to pick up one bill, not at all. So you see the difference. There's a tremendous shift. There's a tremendous shift. That's what these dualities are. They put us in conflict. And that's why Jesus says, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Free from what? Free from the conflict, from the sweating. Should I do, should I not do? Free from all the dualities. And we will win over, coming back to putting everything together, we will win over this enemy, in this case, dishonesty, by not walking away from the opportunities, but creating opportunities to be dishonest and proving to myself that I will never be dishonest again. We can't fear and we can't run away from the enemy. Every time we do this, we lose another battle. The enemy wins over once again. And how do I get out of it? That's what the inner transformation is. I get out of it, first of all, by understanding everything that I said here, which is not me saying, I'm just bringing a message that Spiritism teaches us. Think about this. Let's do another analogy here to wrap up the ideas for the day. Think about the sun. It's something physical because it's easier for us to understand concepts in the physical world, so we are going to go by analogy. Think about the sun. If I ask you what time is night at the sun, it would sound strange, but the answer is easy. It's never night in the sun. And then I ask you right after that, why not? And the best answer I came up with is it's never night at the sun, because the sun is the source of all light. Not some light, not 2 or 3 rays of light. No, all light. The sun is the source of all light. And then let's bring it to our spirit life. When am I going to be in peace? When I am the source of all peace. Not when 2 guys in suits and nice clothing go to a palace to sign papers, because we've done this 10,000 times in humanity and we don't get anywhere. When am I going to be tolerant? When I am the source of all tolerance. When am I going to be patient? When I am the source of all patience. And then, as we go along, trying to be the source of all virtues, the vices are going to die on each of these dualities that we have to deal with. And that would be the path towards inner transformation. Again, it's personal, not transferable, and not easy. But that's what we should be looking for and targeting. Before we go home tonight, per se, I wanted to bring you just one thing here. When you have a chance, just go to KardecFlix.com. KardecFlix.com is a new platform. You can see here on the description. It's full of Spiritist resources. You're going to find Spiritism all over the place in there. It has movies and it has nice content, interviews for adults, kids, and teens. It's an incredible amount of resources for Spiritists and those who want to get to know Spiritism. If you're coming from another different belief system, it's a great source of resource. Also for us, Spiritists. Well, thank you very much for being with us tonight. And don't forget, We're going to be here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with another Spiritism, a closer look. Be well.